Oh, this is the worst movie of the year. Greetings, hungry nerds. Fantasy Island. Spoilers. The plane. This is the worst movie of the year. You cannot convince me otherwise. This movie is the worst movie of the year. We've had some stinkers so far this year. This makes the Grudge remake look like it had a purpose. This movie makes The Turning look like it made sense. I don't even know where to begin with this pile of shit. I don't even know where to start. So this film, it's supposed to be giving a spin, a horror twist on a 70s TV show of the same name. All right. A horror movie taking place on a deserted island. Okay. Let's see what you got. And right away, you have the plane coming in. The fancy, the plane from the 70s. The look, what they look like. The plane's coming in, and you got this chick running on the beach, and she's like, the plane. Ah. Oh. You taste that? Ugh. Ew. At that point, I was already like, this is not gonna be good. So the plane arrives, and the guests get off, and then they start introducing themselves to one another. You were just on a plane for who knows how long, and you're just now introducing yourselves to each other? What's going on here? What the fuck is going on? Oh, but Ed, the plane was too noisy. They couldn't introduce themselves because the plane was making too much noise. The fuck it wasn't. That plane was not making too much noise that these people who were probably spending hours isolated on this plane going to an island that they had no idea about. And you mean to tell me that no, they didn't interact with one another? That plane was not that noisy that there were people sitting next to each other, probably. There had to have been people, at least sitting next to each other. And they didn't interact one time. Except for the brothers. Nobody knew each other. The brothers who kept high-fiving each other, which we'll get to. Everyone in this movie annoyed me so much. Every character, I feel like there was not a likable character in this film, except maybe Merle, who was running around in the forest. He was there for a couple of weeks, and he knew what the fuck was going on. He knew what was happening. But everybody sucked. Not one character in this thing had a redeemable quality or a likable quality about them. Every single character did their best to get on my nerves within the opening minutes of this film. The High Five brothers going, oh yeah! After every new thing that they see, after every room, every reveal, they're like, oh yeah. And then they're referencing these pop culture things. They reference Jodie Foster and they reference Die Hard. And they were just so annoying. And then Lucy Hale's character, which right off the bat, she gets off the plane and she's like, oh, this might not be that bad. And she comes into it oh, she's going to a tropical island. Oh, how awful life is that I'm on a tropical island. What do you mean? What do you mean it's not going to be that bad? You're on an island. You're on a tropical island called Fantasy Island. Why are you being so cynical right off the bat that you're like, oh, I have to check my iPhone and Instagram. I have to see what's happening with the hashtags. What real person lands on a tropical island and starts complaining like that? And then she's bummed out that there's no service, that she can't access her Twitter or her filters. She can't access her phone, and that bothers her. Put your phone away. Just put your phone away for 2 seconds and enjoy the beach. Maybe. Why? You're not real. You're not a real person. The only character here who was like halfway decent, who was all right, was Gwen. She declined a proposal from her boyfriend, from her ex, 5 years ago for some reason. And now that she's on the island, she's getting another chance with him, and it recreates the scene where he takes her to a restaurant to propose to her, and she gets another chance to say yes. And not only does she say yes, she gets a life with him, and they have a kid together because she wanted one. So 5 years later, now she has a kid, and all these memories of this kid in 5 years have passed. What? I'm not really sure about how the rules on this island work, even though they explain it in an exhausting way. For the first half of this film, it still didn't make sense because the movie just kept contradicting itself. It kept breaking its own rules, but I'm going to try to get it right. I'm going to try to explain the rules of this island, this magical island. They each get one fantasy, one per guest, and they have to see it through to its natural conclusion. You know, Lucy Hale, her character, she wants to get revenge on a childhood bully. The brothers, the half-brothers, the high-five twins, they just want to party and do a bunch of drugs and have fun and whatever. The token attractive fellow, he wants to join the military, but really he wants to save his dad, who died in Venezuela. Okay, which, by the way, his character gets aggressively hit on by Lucy Hale's character in the beginning, like to the point it's like comical how over the top these character interactions are. Do real people behave this way? Do people act this way in real life? So we begin to follow each of these fantasies one by one, and none of them make any sense. None of them really make a whole lot of sense. And none of them really are consistent tonally or do a whole lot to progress the story, except for when it conveniently needs to progress the story. Michael Pena is there as Mr. Rourke, and he's too good for this. Michael Pena is too good for this, by the way, but he's there, and he's kind of instructing what the guests as to what's happening, but he has his own fantasy to keep bringing back his dead wife over and over again until all the awful people, because everyone in this film is just awful. Nobody is a good person here. And they have to convince him that it's wrong to keep bringing this poor woman back and she dies over and over again. Don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. That's not a good thing to do. Tonally, this movie is all over the place. We get these beautiful shots of the beach and the resort and ominous music playing over it. And they're trying to make us feel like there's something to fear, but we were never actually given a reason to be afraid. And this movie is just not scary at all. There are a few jump scares, very few of them, and I would expect like more jump scares to happen, but the ones that did happen were just ineffective. You saw each of them coming a mile away, and because of like the like party nature of things that were going on, when it switches and it turns on a dime, it switches to like a woman, Gwen in her apartment with this like bloody footprints, and there's a thing in the mirror, and it's just like the jump scare happens and it's loud, but nobody cares because there's no build up to any of the scares. And sometimes like in a bad horror movie, there'll be maybe like one or two jump scares that will catch you off guard and it will startle you, but not once in this film was I even startled. Did I jump or anything like that? And at least in The Grudge and The Turning, that happened. A jump scare or two got me, but not in Fantasy Island. Nope. Oh, because you didn't have time to get to know them because the plane was too noisy. I think a twist happens. I don't really know because I didn't understand what was happening in the first place. And there was no like dark reveal or anything like that. It kind of just turned into like this action sequence and there was a shootout. They kept implying throughout this film that there was another fantasy, like they were in somebody else's fantasy. Oh, is this my fantasy? No, it must be your fantasy. No, I think it's really Mr. Rourke's fantasy. I don't think we're in my fantasy. Is this your fantasy? Whose fantasy are we in? It's revealed that all along it's Lucy Hale's character's fantasy because not only did she want to get back at her childhood bully, but no, she went on a date, one date with a guy, and she got tad bit clingy, and she thought that everyone who had a hand in her, in things not working out with this guy, she had to kill them. It was a bit excessive. There was literally nothing throughout the film that pointed towards maybe there was something sinister going on with her character. She just seemed like an annoying, like a brat that she... Merle, my man Merle, put it the best. He told her to grow up, which I think was the best line of the movie. He told her to grow up. This was a bad movie. This was a bad movie. I hated every second of this movie, of Blumhouse's Fantasy Island. This was bad. Nothing about this was scary. None of the jokes landed. And the movie just kept contradicting itself. Telling us one thing, it over-explained, and then it was like, nah, we're going to do something different. And the fact that this was based off of an established TV show from the 70s was just, it wasn't needed. We didn't need this to be the 2020 horror version of Fantasy Island. This could have just been its own thing, without the name. Could have just been a stupid horror movie on an island with the same twist, with the same plot, and it wouldn't have mattered. It could have been called anything. Don't see this. There's no reason to. Put it in the garbage. Put it in the garbage. Bad. 0 out of 10. I still taste that. It's bad. It's not good. Hate it. Thank you guys for watching my review of Blumhouse's Fantasy Island. If you saw this movie, leave your thoughts down below. What you thought of this movie. And if you didn't see it, don't. As simple as that. Guys, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. We got much more coming. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay hungry, nerds. Bye, everyone.